Kelsey Mitchell praised Clark's work ethic, leadership, and impact on the game loudly, clearly, and without a trace of envy. No vague PR-approved talking points, no lukewarm compliments, the straight-up respect. And let's be honest, this wasn't as a player hyping up a teammate or showing sportsmanship. This was really distance against the unspoken buys, the uncomfortable silence, and a passive-aggressive narrative floating around the league since Clark's debut. It was a clear shot. The culture of cliché politics, media favoritism, whispers, any idea that success has to come at someone else's expense. If you're here for the real story and not filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. The WNBA has been navigating a strange dynamic this season. Caitlin Clark came in with a tidal wave of attention, record-breaking viewership, sold our games, and media spotlight brighter than the league's seen in years. And instead of embracing the momentum, some players, fans, and even analysts acted like it was a threat to the status quo. Mitchell saw that and refused to call sign of bitterness. Her message: growth doesn't mean erasure. You can acknowledge players' impact without lose in your own. That might sound simple, but in a league where attention has been bubbling over press conferences, shady tweets, and on-court altercations, Kelsey clarity cut through all the noise. This wasn't just about Clark, it was about leadership. It was about telling the WNBA, in the world we're better when we respect each other, we're stronger when we uplift, not undermine. It's the kind of energy fans have begged to see: real camaraderie, not fake PR unity. And it struck a nerve. Fans rally behind her. Social media lit up suddenly. Kelsey Mitchell wasn't just an all-star guard, she became the voice of reason. And season full of unnecessary drama, her stance could be a turning point. One that child is not just how to lead treated breakout stars, but how build a legacy, respect instead of rivalry. Because of the WNBA wants to grow, it needs players like Mitchell, ones who can see the bigger picture, who aren't afraid to challenge the unspoken rules, and who know that authenticity hit harder than any passive-aggressive subtweet ever could. And right now, she's the only one bold enough to say it out loud. Kelsey Mitchell didn't speak her mind, she cracked open a conversation the WNBA has been trying to tiptoe around for months, in a league simmering with whispers, side eyes, encoded interview. She came out swinging with something has become rarer than unanimous call from refs: honesty, and not just any honesty, loyal, grounded, unapologetic support for Caitlin Clark. While others have been dancing around questions, ducking the obvious, or throw occasional passive-aggressive jab and pressers, Kelsey stay right up said what fans, commentators, and just about every person with eyes has been debating all season. She praised Caitlin Clark, her work ethic, her leadership, her impact, and made it clear she's not here for the petty politics or fake rivalries. In a season already bursting at the seams with drama, this moment it's sent shockwaves, because let's be real, the narrative around Caitlin Clark hasn't exactly been warm and fuzzy. From the second she stepped onto a WNBA court, it felt like she was walking into a league split into, on one side, fans desperate to see the women's game grow, finally seeing a breakout star going mainstream, it tension on the other, a cold shoulder from some veterans and pundits, eye rolls, thinly veiled criticisms, and that same old pay dues energy that's been choking growth in women's sports for years. And yet here comes Kelsey Mitchell, someone has been the league, who's earned the respect, who doesn't need to defend anyone, shutting all that down. One candid move: she didn't just compliment Caitlin Clark, she defended the idea of celebrating someone new without making it about resentment. She stood for what should have been obvious, that rising stars don't hymn anyone's legacy. They spotlighted her comments, lit up social media faster than a buzzer beater. The hashtag are flying, fans praise or authenticity calling. Enter the real MVP for saying what so many been thinking, but too afraid to say. The praise wasn't just for standing by Clark, it was for refusing to play the media games, for say enough to the tired, divisive storylines at Pitt women ago, since each other on the disguise of healthy competition. Because let's call it, the league's been weirdly silent Or worse, vaguely passive-aggressive. You'd think a rookie bringing in record ratings, headline-grabbing moment, and global attention would be something to celebrate. But instead it felt like every comment Clark. It is treated like a subtraction from someone else's resume, and Kelsey Mitchell wasn't having it. She spoke up, not over, and that matters. She did reduce Clark's rise to media hype or lucky timing. She acknowledged what actually is hard work, undeniable talent, and leadership that goes beyond staff. It was never just about Caitlin Clark scoring points. It was about how she shifted the way people talk about the women's game, how she filled arenas, broken viewing records, and forced an entire industry to stop treating women's basketball like a footnote. And Kelsey Mitchell saw there for what it was: a win. For everyone, that's what made her words cut through the noise. They weren't rehearsed. They weren't filtered through a PR team. They were just real. And in a league that often feels overly cautious, her honesty stood out like a logo 3. But here's where things get really interesting, because this wasn't just about Caitlin Clark. It was about what Kelsey's response represents. It was a call for change, a challenge the WNBA culture, and a demand for lead to have all with players, not against them. No more side-eyed resentment, no more false humility, no more pretending like support equals weakness. Kelsey message with clear: respect can coexist with competition. You can challenge them on a court and still praise them off of it. You can protect your legacy without tearing down someone else's. And in doing so, you don't lose your place, you elevate everyone's. This moment pull back the curtain on what so many fans have been frustrated about: that weird under-the-surface tension, the quiet resentment, the uncomfortable interviews, the general sense that Clark's success somehow disrupted a status quo that didn't need protecting in the first place. But Kelsey Mitchell reminded the league of something bigger. This is a zero-sum game. Grow for one can be grow for all. Visibility, support, and shared success should never feel like betrayal. And her willingness to say it out loud on record, and without an ounce of hesitation, that's leadership. And it's resonating, because the second or comments went public, you could feel the shift. Fans rallied, commentator ears applauded, even some previously hesitant voices started softening their tone. Is like Kelsey Mitchell gave everyone else permission to stop pretending, to stop towing the line between polite professionalism and performative shade. Her stance was a mic drop. She didn't just uplift Clark, she exposed the pettiness that and quietly poisoned the league's image, and she replaced it with something better: authenticity, a willingness to be honest, to be generous, to be secure enough in her own greatness to recognize it in someone else. And let's not ignore the optics here. In a time when the WNBA is chasing mainstream legitimacy, struggling the market so beyond his core audience, and fighting tooth and nail for airtime, this a moment of actual camaraderie. Was a PR when they desperately needed, and didn't come from a boardroom. It came from a player, a veteran, someone who's lived it. Kelsey Mitchell became the voice of reason in a season for static. Her support for Clark wasn't just a compliment, it was a roadmap for how the lead could grow without cannibalizing itself. It showed how mutual respect builds legacy, how solidarity sells tickets, how honesty earned headlines for the right reasons. It was a quiet rebellion, a refusal play along with the pick a side nonsense that keeps players boxed into caricatures. She didn't fall into the trap of rivalry for the sake of ratings. She redefined what support looks like. She made it clear that the real power moves and tearing others down, it's lifting them up and still winning. And maybe, just maybe, this moment marks a cultural shift. Because when someone like Kelsey speaks, people listen, and when fans spawn way, they did, flooding timelines with praise, sharing clips, starting conversations. It proves is a hunger for more, this for truth, for maturity, for something beyond the usual drama. It's no longer about whether Caitlin Clark deserved the attention she's earned 100 times over now. It's about what the lead does with that attention, whether they'll embrace his wave of excitement and transformation or let it slip to their fingers because of outdated hierarchy and misplaced pride. Kelsey Mitchell just made the case for unity, for progress, for a league that doesn't eat its young but mentors them, challenges them, celebrate them. And if the WNBA is paying attention, they'll see what this moment really is: an invitation to evolve, to lead, to build a culture where the next Caitlin Clark or the next Kelsey Mitchell doesn't have a fight the same fight. because the truth is this league has always had talent. What it lacked at times as transparency, authenticity, the courage to say the quiet parts out loud. Kelsey Mitchell just did that, and whether the league likes it or not, there's no walking back the car. Recession has started, the spotlight has shifted, and for once it's not about who said a shady as thing in the post-game presser, it's about who had the guts to speak with integrity. So give Kelsey Mitchell the Did That award for 2025, she earned it. And now it's your turn. What do you think? Was this a turning point for the WNBA? Will more players speak up, or the league try keep things quiet again? Drop your thoughts in the comments, tell us where you stand. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more stories from a frontline sports drama meltdowns and viral moments that shake the game. See you in the next one. Here's the thing. And Kelsey Mitchell didn't just say something nice about Caitlin Clark. She shared the illusion that silence equals professionalism. She reminded the entire league that you can be a competitor and a supporter, that being vocal doesn't mean you're messy, it means you're paying attention. And you know what? That's something the WNBA desperately needed right now. This wasn't some polished PR stunt. There were no filter captions or carefully worded statements hidden behind images, and no shade disclaimers. Kelsey kept it real. She spoke with a type of clarity that can be faked, and is that authenticity that made her comments impossible to ignore. Or because when one of your own calls out the elephant room, you have to listen. Kelsey, his words are different because they weren't coming from the sideline. She's not a casual observer or an opportunistic critic. She's in the paint, she's grinding through the season, she's navigating the same lead politics and media scrutiny as everyone else, and still she took a stand when it would have been easier to stay quiet. And that's what makes this moment feel like more than just a soundbite. It feels like a culture check. Look, this season has been exhausting. The amount of micro-drama wrapped around Caitlin Clark's rookie year has been completely out of proportion. One elbowgate, jealousy rumors, media snubs, bizarre fouls. The whole thing has felt less like a sports story and more like a Netflix drama. And through it all, very few players have been willing to go on record and cut to the noise. Most stayed safe, played neutral, or worse, fed the bees with cryptic posts and icy quotes. But Kelsey Mitchell chose a different route. She said Caitlin Clark deserves or flowers now, not later. Now, when she's earned it by some unspoken veteran checklist. Not when the hype dies down, not after the media moves on. Now, because the truth is holding back record. Nation doesn't build character, it builds resentment. And the longer the lead plays a game of passive aggression, the more risks alienating the very fans that work so hard to bring in people want to root for these players. But no one wants a way to a cloud attention and full sisterhood. Just enjoy game. Kelsey understood that supporting Clark isn't just about one player. It's about changing the tone of the lead, about reminder people that leadership doesn't always come to the stat sheet, it comes in the people who speak when it matters, and she did it without diminishing herself. That's key. Let's be honest, Kelsey Mitchell is no side character. She's one of the most consistent scorers in the league, a quiet killer on the court, and she's that. The fight for recognition to so if anyone could have been salty about the media frenzy around Caitlin Clark, it would have been her. But she wasn't. She flipped the script. Instead of seeing Clark's spotlight as a threat, she saw it as a signal that maybe finally people were starting to pay attention to women's basketball, and were always deserved. And rather than gatekeeping that attention, she chose to fuel it. That a legacy move, because whether she meant to or not, Kelsey just positioned herself as one of the key leaders of his league's new era, not just because she's talented, but because she's aware. She sees the bigger picture. She understands that growth doesn't have to come with drama. And honestly, that a message that WNBA front office should be listening to on repeat. For years, the league has struggled to find a consistent narrative. Too often it's lean into conflict over community, rivalry over respect, and sure, that kind of drama might get short-term clicks, but it doesn't build longevity. Of Kelsey Mitchell just gave them a blueprint for something better, a league where stars don't have them each other shine get theirs, where veteran players don't treat rookies like intruders, where talent is recognized without politics, where players actually support each other without PR incentives or sponsors. You pressure revolutionary, right? And that's not to say things are perfect now, not even close, because for every Kelsey Mitchell, there's still players and pundits throwing shade in group interviews, dropping subtle digs on social media, and feeding a culture rivalry. They only drag the lead backwards. They are still whispers about favoritism, still complaints about media buys, still weird energy when certain names are brought up during broadcast. And the most frustrating part, a lot of it comes from people who should know better, but that's why Kills his comments hit like a reset button. They remind everyone what the stakes really are. This isn't just about one season or one player. It's about the trajectory of women's basketball, about building something sustainable, about showing young players, young fans that this league has a space for growth, not grudges. And if that means shaking up a few tired narratives, so be it, because let's face it, Caitlin clogged in as to be the center of a media circus, shooting control, the hype machine. All she's done is show up, play her game, and try not to drown expectation. She's taking hits literal and figurative and kept going. And that's what Kelsey saw. That's what she respected, not just the stat, but the grit, the way Clark has kept her head down and let her game do the talking. And isn't that what we say we want from athletes? But too often we punish people for their success. We romanticize struggling, key recognition until tilt earned in ways no one can define. Kelsey Mitchell said no more. She saw the nonsense and cut through it with a few clear, sincere words. And for that, she didn't just win the respect the fans, she redefined it. Now it's on a wrestler lead to decide what comes next. Do they double down on division? Or do they embrace the kind of culture Kelsey just modeled, one built on honesty, maturity, and mutual respect? Because this is a turning point, whether they want to be or not. You can already feel it. The temperature is shifting. Fans are choosing sides not out of drama, but out of values. They want support players who uplift the game, not those who drag down with side eyes and locker room politics. And if the league is smart, they'll follow that energy. They'll lean into players like Kelsey Mitchell, players who understand that legacy isn't just what you do on the court, but how you carry yourself off it. This is the kind of leadership women's sports have been waiting for, not polished, not packaged, present. So here's a takeaway. Kelsey Mitchell didn't have any teammate. She set a tone. She showed the world that authenticity still matters, that you can speak truth and still be risk. Fact did that you can support someone else's rise without compromising your own. And honestly, that's the most powerful thing any athlete can do. So let's give it a credit she deserves, not just for the quote, but for example, for showing that true leadership isn't about being the loudest or the flashiest. It's about being the one who says what everyone else is too scared to say and meaning it. Now the spotlight on everyone else, how they respond with a step up or stay silent. One thing for sure, Kelsey Mitchell just raised the bar, and the league's better for it. Kelsey Mitchell cracked something open, and now we're all watching to see who follows through, because there's a difference between support and solidarity. Support is clapping from the sidelines. Solidarity, that's stepping in, that's risking something, that's saying, yeah, I'll stand next, or even if it cost me. And that's what makes Kelsey move so bold. She didn't have to say anything. In fact, silence would have been safer choice. Just go about your business. Let the media keep spinning their little few narratives. Let the rookies fend for themselves and keep cash in those game checks. But instead, she stepped into the storm. She saw the settled digs, the awkward headlines, the league-wide reluctance to acknowledge Caitlin Clark's undeniable rise, and she refused to play along. She refusal of bitterness. Dress up as pride. She refuses stay quiet. In a culture that rewards silence when things get messy, and let's not sugarcoat it, there was risk. And what she said, because whether anyone want to admit or not, there is a rift in the league right now. Attention, a whole undercurrent of resentment boiling just under the surface. Every time Clark's name comes up, there are players who feel sidelined, vets who feel disrespected, and a growing chorus of fans who are starting to see through the performative unity. So for someone like Kelsey to go, their current, that takes guts, that takes vision, because it's not just about praising a player. It's about challenging the energy that's been surrounding the conversation, and by doing so, she called out someone has been rotting the foundation for years. The idea that there's no enough space for everyone, that scares the mindset. That's what's holding women's sports back. The belief that one player getting attention means someone else is losing it, that if a rookie gets the headlines, a veteran get forgotten, that if someone new becomes phase of the lead, the rest of the players get pushed into the shadows. Because it's false, it's toxic, as outdated, but unfortunately, it's also common, especially in leagues like the WNBA, with a spotlight has always been so limited where recognition has to be fought for, not given. It creates a climate where players feel like they're all climbing the same narrow ladder, and if one person gets a hand up, everyone else is stuck waiting at the bottom. But here's the truth, there's enough spotlight for everyone, there's enough space for legends and rookies, for the old guard, and the new wave, for gritty vets like Kelsey Mitchell, and headline grabbers like Caitlin Clark, and kills it in to say that she proved it by using her voice to uplift someone else's. What makes this moment feel